What's up, everybody? Welcome to another video in our Quick Start course. Today, we are going to be talking about the importance of ad creatives. Through the rest of this Quick Start course, we make a few general assumptions about your experience level. First, we're going to assume you already know the basic of how Facebook ads work. If you don't worry. There are a ton of free, helpful resources out there for you. YouTube is full of free content explaining how Facebook ads work. Not only that, but Facebook has their own course that you can take called the Facebook Blueprint, which is a really excellent resource. If you go to the ShineOn YouTube channel, you're going to find all kinds of videos and free content that we have put out, also explaining how Facebook ads work. So once you've exhausted all the free resources, if you really want to level up your game, I would highly recommend investing in your own knowledge. Invest in a course. We put out a course called ShineOn 100K. You can find more info about it at shineon100k.com. And we walk you through the entire process for how to get started with ShineOn and become a successful seller. Regardless of whether you invest in your knowledge using free resources or paid, it doesn't really matter. The main point is continue to grow, continue to push yourself, continue to expand your skill set so you can become the best marketer that you can be. Okay, now that we've got some of those assumptions out of the way, let's begin. First, when it comes to creatives, there are a few basics you need to remember. And this applies for whether or not you're using images or video or dynamic ads or some other kind of creatives like the carousel ads and so on. There are three main purposes of your creative. And by the way, just to be clear, when I say creative, I'm referring to the ad that people are going to see inside of Facebook. That entire thing is considered your creative. The copy, the image, the headlines, the button, all of that. That is a creative. That is your canvas. And you get to paint on that canvas. And your goal is to get people to go and click that ad and buy your product. That is your goal. There are three main purposes of that creative. And they are as follows. First, you want to get attention. You have to get attention and stop the scroll. Stop the scroll. Remember, most people, when they're on Facebook, they're on their cell phones and they're just sitting here and they're just scrolling through the feed, looking at friends' posts, looking at ads, going past things quickly. What you want to do is stop them in their tracks, right? So the number one thing your creative should be doing is getting attention and stopping the scroll. Number two, you need to create interest and desire in the user. You need to create interest and desire in the user. Another way to say it is hit them in the feels, right? Remember how we said the phrase is the most important part of your product. You need to move people emotionally. If they cry, they'll buy. It's the phrase that pays. In this part, you want them to read the phrase and you need to hit them in the feels with that phrase. So stop the scroll, hit them in the feels. That is the second goal of the creative. And finally, you want to drive action. If you've stopped the scroll, you've hit them in the feels. So now they're kind of, some emotion is moving around inside of them. What do you want them to do next? Because you certainly don't want them to keep scrolling, right? Then you're going to lose your prospect. You're going to lose your potential buyer. You want them to click the ad. You want them to click the ad. There are a lot of different ways you can do this. You can have an offer. You can say, buy today, get 50% off. You can tell everybody that it's selling out quickly or that there's limited stock or the sale is going to end soon. I would highly advise against creating false urgency, but perhaps you have a discount and you know you're going to take it down in 5 days or something like that. You can say limited time sale. However you decide to do it, you want them to click the ad. So you have to think through what can you offer them? How can you bait them? How can you lure them into clicking the ad to learning more about your product? All right, so let's talk about the ad itself for a minute, and we're going to start with the images. I do want to touch very briefly on your ad copy. So keep things simple. That is what I recommend. Keep things simple. You don't need long ad copy. I would try to keep short and sweet ad copy. I usually like to throw a link in my ad copy and some emojis. I also like to lead with a question. This is just me. It helps me. I can scale quickly. And usually when I have a product that starts to take off, I'll test a few different variations on my ad copy to see what I can do to improve the click-through rates and things like that. Almost always the short ad copies win. So I highly recommend just keep the ad copy short. with your headline, lead with an offer. That's a way to keep it simple. You can see here I say $20 off today only. I've got a little free shipping. Here is my description. And then the button says shop now. Keep things simple when it comes to the ad copy, the headline, the button text, and so on. Now, let's talk about the image or the video that you put right here. This is arguably the most important part of your entire ad. This is what people are going to see before they read your copy, your headline, look at your button or anything like that. They're going to see this. If you're going to stop the scroll, you've got to do it right here with the image or the video. Let's talk about images just for a minute. First of all, with the image, it's very important that the phrase is legible on a cell phone. You need this phrase here to be large enough that it's legible on a cell phone. This right here, in my opinion, is already pushing it. This is as small as you would possibly ever want to go on a phrase on your message card. Because you get much smaller than this, people just are not going to be able to read it on a cell phone. Keep in mind, your cell phone width, the width of the screen is like 3 inches. And I have an iPhone 10 or something like that, one of the plus ones. So it's the bigger iPhone. Most people don't have those phones. You really need to make sure that the text is large enough that they can read it without having to zoom in or anything like that. The product offering needs to be easily understood. And all I mean by that is you can tell very clearly here, this is a necklace, right? This is an ad for a necklace. That's exactly what this is. It's very clear what the product is. You can tell it's inside of a gift box and things like that. You can tell it's a gift for a wife, from a husband. All those things are abundantly clear. There's no confusion about what this offer is. And then finally, try to avoid distracting overlays such as arrows and text unless it's needed for clarity. So notice I don't have any distracting red arrows coming in here saying, from wife or love your husband or $20 off up here in the top right corner or anything like that. If you need to add arrows for clarity, like let's say you use one of our buyer upload products where the buyer actually gets to upload a photo right onto the product and you need to demonstrate that, like, hey, personalize this or upload your photo, that's okay because you're doing it for clarity so that people understand the product offering. But if you don't need something like that, avoid it. Just keep it simple, keep it minimal. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. Remember, a confused mind says no. So try to get out of the way as much as possible. Okay, that wraps up the basics for images. Now let's talk a little bit about video. So for video, the first 3 seconds are the most important to stop the scroll and ensure that they watch the rest of the video. Usually you want some kind of action in the first 3 seconds, something to flash on the screen. You want to move from text to a product reveal, something like that. And you're going to need to test different variations on the first 3 seconds of the video to see what gets the most plays. And you can do all that using the analytics Facebook provides you inside of Ads Manager. There are lots of video styles out there and variations to test. You have videos with lots of fast cuts. You have videos with voiceovers, videos with music and no voiceovers where you're just kind of playing on emotion and things like that. And then videos with subtitles and explainer text. And there are probably a bunch of others. There are a lot of different variations on video that you can test to see what's working well for you. Finally, just keep it simple and try to move people emotionally. Again, this is the most important part of everything. You're wanting to move people emotionally. Never lose sight of that. It's very easy to get lost in all the bells and whistles of Ads Manager and the cool stuff your video editor can do and this neat overlay or shading effect that you can do in Photoshop. Keep in mind, all you really need to do, the number one goal is to hit these people in the feels. Reach out from the screen and slap them right in the feels with your phrase, right? You want them to be moved emotionally, laugh, cry, grieve, something like that. You want to move them emotionally. That is what's going to secure the bag for you. That is what's going to convince them to buy. Now that covers the important bits for video. Let's talk a little bit about user-generated content. There's an acronym called UGC. You're going to hear it thrown around a lot. It stands for user-generated content. These are videos and images that look like a customer made them themselves. You've seen a lot of these on review sites and things like that. There's a lot of trust that comes with these kinds of videos and a lot of authenticity because they look like they're handmade. They look like they're made by a customer. They're not behind a studio or anything like that. So they're really powerful. Now, UGC style images and videos almost always convert better than studio images and videos. Almost always. Now, keep in mind, I'm saying almost. You're still going to need to test your studio style stuff versus your UGC style stuff. More often than not, though, the UGC style videos and images will convert better. And they can be super unique, especially if you make them yourself. What I really love about UGC is if I have a product that's taking off, I know there are going to be other people out there looking for my design, looking for my phrase, and maybe even copying it to some extent. So I'm going to have competition very fast. But if I order a sample from ShineOn and I get my sample in and then I take some of my own UGC photos, I suddenly have an ad creative nobody else can use and nobody else can copy. That's why I find UGC so powerful. Not only that, but it's got the high authenticity, that high kind of transparency and trust factor with the buying audience. And suddenly I am sitting on a creative that nobody else has. And it just gives me one more edge and competitive advantage in the marketplace. So here's some examples of some UGC style images, right? So you can see over here on the left, you've kind of got the hand holding up the image, and you can tell this is not really a studio quality image. It really does kind of look like somebody just stepped out under their backyard, held up the product in their hand, and snapped a quick photo. I grabbed this from the graphic design group, the ShineOn graphic design group. It was a design that Notion Mim put up. So I want to make sure Notion gets some credit here for this image. It's where I got this one. It really stood out to me when I saw I liked it. Here's another one. I've taken this before. I actually took this photo inside of a parking lot, believe it or not. Sun was going down, horrible lighting, everything like that. This is actually the ad that I ran as well. You can tell the image is not great. This image outperformed literally every other test I threw against it by a wide margin. It was unbelievable, actually, that this image here outperformed everything else. The other UGC images, the other studio style images. My wife even took this product. It was right around Christmas I was selling this, and she set it up with a Christmas tree in the background and ornaments and lights and all these things. They were still UGC style, but they were leveled up, so to speak. And this thing that I took right in the parking lot with my cell phone, completely unedited and unproduced in Photoshop or anything else, did the best overall. So I always thought that was funny and unbelievable, but there's an important lesson here. Just keep it simple, right? Just keep it simple. Make your UGCs simple. People like that kind of thing. Again, it's about authenticity and trust. People just trust it when they see something like this. All right, and finally, let's talk a little bit about UGC style videos. Now, this is where you can start to have a lot of fun, but video takes a little bit longer to crack. So I always recommend make sure you test first, get a product that's got some traction, then go out and start to do your UGC in your video and things like that. Now, I've got two styles I want to show you here. One with music and then one is a voiceover. We're seeing results with both of these. So let me show you these real quick. So action right there in the beginning, ties in with the music, showing off the product. Notice that the phrase can be seen easily in the video, so people have time to read it. It's almost like the image ads, except it's video. It's being held still enough, people can see the product and they can read the phrase. And this will automatically play in people's news feeds, which makes it super powerful. And that was it, right? Super simple. I mean, literally just flip the box open and bam, you could see the phrase. I'm going to play the beginning one more time. I just want you to pay attention to how the first 3 seconds has action in it. Just watch this. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, right? And if you can get people past the first 3 seconds, there's a high likelihood they're going to continue to watch. They may not finish the whole video, but you've got them hooked at least long enough. You know they've stopped the scroll at that point. So it's super powerful. Now I want to show you this other video. This is one with a voiceover. This is just one we did with somebody we knew. It was a friend. You could do this with anybody, a sister, a mom, a grandma, a friend that you have, something like that. So watch this. This is with a voiceover. They're going to read the message card here. It's pretty cool. Here we go.
Mom, you shouldn't have. Oh, it's beautiful. To my daughter, even when I'm not close by, I want you to know I love you for the little girl that you once were, for the amazing woman that you are today, and for the precious daughter you will always be. Put this on and consider it a hug. Love, Mom. Oh, thank you.
So look at that, super simple. All they did was read the phrase. Notice the camera zoomed in on the phrase, held it still. Again, kind of mimicking the same benefit you get out of an image, which is that phrase is still on the screen and people can easily read it. The advantage you had of this was you had a voiceover, somebody read the image. They also were able to add some emotion, right? They kind of had a reaction in there and things like that. So that was kind of cool. A little bit of acting on our part. And then there was some text at the beginning and the end. It said perfect gift for daughter, I believe, at the beginning. And then at the end, it just told what people to do. Again, it's about driving action. It said click the link in the description below. So the other thing that's kind of cool, again, watch the action in the first 3 seconds. You kind of pan around and you suddenly kind of realize you're being pulled into a moment. And that is the hook on this one. So let's just watch that real quick.
Mom,
1,000, 1,000, 1,000, boxes open, cameras panning around now. People want to see what's in this box. So that is how you do UGC style video. So it's really, really cool, super easy to do. If you have a sample, you can bust one of these out in just a few seconds. It's super simple to do. We've seen other examples of UGC style videos taken off. Sometimes people don't have voiceover or anything in it. They literally just film themselves opening the box, holding up the product, showing what the product is, showing the quality of it, showing the engraving on the back, things like that. It's truly incredible. It's very powerful for your creatives if you get it right. So just to quickly recap that so it's all clear, images are still driving the majority of sales. We're seeing UGC style images really help with scaling overall. So when you compare UGC style versus studio renders, UGC style images seem to really help people scale. But we're starting to see a trend with video, where video is really starting to pick up. We've had a few people break through the wall with video, and they've done exceptionally well with UGC style video ads. Now, here's what I recommend. Test with ShineOn provided renders first. And we have some studio and UGC style renders. So that's really cool. You can use UGC style renders right from the platform. Test with our provided renders first. They're just images, and that's okay. Test with those first. Validate your design and phrase with some sales. So test first, try to get some sales. That validates that you're onto something with your design or your phrase. Then start testing with these other creative formats that require more effort. Once you have a few sales, that's your green light to order a sample if you want or start doing more of the fancy stuff. But wait until you have a few sales to do it. All right, everybody, that wraps up this video on the importance of ad creatives. I hope you found it helpful, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.